Welcome to the debate.
Today, we're continuing our discussion on the insights from Latif, specifically around how contractors and roofers can dramatically increase their profits.
Right, through better supplements. And we're drawing on the systematic approach laid out in his material, particularly the principles we've been covering from Chapter 9 of the series.
And specifically, we're really looking at the core motivation here. Why would a successful contractor adopt this really rigorous 8-step process just for a supplement?
Exactly, which brings us to our central question. Does the primary value for contractors in adopting Latif's systematic approach lie in the massive documented financial returns, the sheer size of the payout?
Or is it in establishing the professional, ethical compliance systems that actually ensure their long-term stability and defensibility?
I'm going to maintain that the sheer magnitude of the financial increase is the essential driver for adoption. The dollar signs are what get things moving and keep them moving.
And I'll be arguing that the system's value is, well, it's fundamentally rooted in its ethical and legal compliance. Without that foundation, the profits are just unstable. They're built on sand.
I just see the financial impact as the only factor that's powerful enough to overcome that operational hesitation that contractors feel about implementing new rigorous systems. I mean, these guys are busy. They need proof that 45 minutes of detailed documentation is actually worth their time.
The time investment is significant. I'll grant you that.
It is, and Latif's material shows the math is truly transformational, not just incremental. We're talking about taking an average, say, $17,400 claim and turning it into a $22,800 claim. That's a 31% increase on one job. So for a smaller operation, maybe doing 50 jobs a year, just adding an average of $2,500 per claim, that puts $125,000 of additional, previously unclaimed revenue right into their business. For many, that effectively doubles their net profit for the year. That is a foundational shift.
That scale of profit is definitely an attention-grabbing figure. It gets people in the door.
Exactly. And the incentive is reinforced by the incredible ROI on the time they spend. You get an average of $2,500 in added revenue from just 45 minutes of meticulous work. Well, that works out to an hourly rate of over $3,000. Focusing on these real numbers gives them the confidence to overcome that fear of rejection and really shift their mindset to asking for what's owed. The incentive is clear, quantifiable capital.
I see why you prioritize the financial metric. I really do. But let me offer a different perspective. Those financial gains, as impressive as they are merely the reward for strict adherence to a professional, defensible system. The core value isn't the monetary amount. It's establishing the defensive compliance structure you need for stability in this industry.
So you see it as a byproduct.
Exactly. This systematic approach itself explicitly guides contractors away from being aggressive or trying to game the system. It defines professionalism as showing up not just knowing your worth, but being able to prove your worth through undeniable legal and code documentation. I would argue the system's greatest value is teaching contractors exactly how to use that legal ammunition.
Okay.
For instance, citing IRC 905.2.8.5 for drip edge, or citing manufacturer specifications that require hand sealing on steep slopes. These are not suggestions. These are non-negotiable legal justifications that make denial virtually impossible for a desk adjuster, because the work has been done up front. Without that foundation of codes and ethics, the contractor is just exposed. They risk making these huge mistakes, like submitting vague requests or generating red flags that trigger scrutiny and audits. Any immediate gain becomes fundamentally unstable.
Let's focus on what drives behavior, though. The system's profitability compounds. Latif notes that supplementing 50 claims at $2,500 on average is $125,000. That is the motivational fuel that gets a contractor to sit down and dedicate 45 minutes per claim. If the system only promised, better compliance, very few contractors would actually alter their operations. It's the immediate high ROI that justifies the investment in learning the system.
That's an interesting point, and I'd acknowledge the financial return is a necessary condition, but the high ROI is only achieved because the supplement is fully defensible. The desk adjuster, the person reviewing it, approves these things quickly, often within 72 to 96 hours, only when the contractor cites specific codes, uses precise estimate language, and provides clear, organized photos. It happens because compliance makes approval the path of least resistance for them.
Hmm.
The compliance infrastructure, citing the codes in the F9 notes, all those detailed justifications, it enables the speed and the size of the payout. The process is audit-proof, so the payment is maximized and it's fast.
I appreciate the focus on defensibility, but I still see the primary draw as the strategic identification of profit centers that most contractors completely miss. I mean, this system is offensive, not just defensive. For example, why would a contractor dedicate time to documenting project manager supervision, that's lab super, or custom bent metal fascia, unless they knew that adding those high-value, often missed line items translates directly to significant added revenue? It's the identification of these specific opportunities, like the potential $12,000 increase from the discontinued materials strategy, that truly justifies the effort. Compliance feels more like the price of admission to go after that $12,000.
I'm just not convinced the $12,000 opportunity is the primary motivator, because without the compliance foundation, that opportunity becomes a massive liability. Let's not look at the request in a vacuum. If a contractor tries to get that 12 grand for discontinued materials, but fails to cite crucial legal criteria like IRC 1506.2, which, mandates material compatibility, and they don't provide the required ITL report, well, that request immediately looks like aggressive inflation.
And it gets denied.
It gets denied outright. Or worse, it triggers that investigation we talked about. The compliance requirement dictates the financial outcome. It dictates whether you get the $12,000 or you get audited. The ethical documentation is the non-negotiable prerequisite.
But let's be realistic about the psychology here. These are entrepreneurs. It's risk versus reward. If I know that 45 minutes of detailed work results in a predictable, high return, I will adopt the system. If I'm just told I need to adopt it to avoid being audited 5 years from now, the incentive is too weak. The scale of the financial return, that's the foundational mindset shift that allows them to adopt the rigor you value so much.
I absolutely agree the return generates confidence, but that confidence has to be grounded in something. And looking at the long term, the system's primary benefit is insulating the business from legal and financial risk. That's sustainability. The training is very explicit about avoiding pitfalls. It's clear that billing for work you didn't do is fraud, but it also trains contractors to use highly specific, ethical language. For instance, using the term unavailable surface instead of just rot when documenting wood damage.
Right, that's a key distinction.
It is. This specific phrasing is required to navigate policy exclusions ethically while still securing legitimate payment for structural issues. If they use the wrong word, they risk denial. That defensive structure guarantees the longevity of any financial gains.
While mitigating risk is a necessary byproduct, I still argue it's ancillary to the main driver. The ultimate goal is not simply to avoid lawsuits. It is to maximize legitimate recovery to a level that maintains a healthy, growing business. Think about the compounding effect. The material shows a mid-sized operation, say 150 jobs a year, can add over $500,000 annually in supplemental revenue. That capital influx is what allows them to pay for better legal counsel, afford better insurance, and fund better systems, the very things that reduce risk. The profit fuels the compliance infrastructure.
That's a compelling argument, but I still believe profitability without a robust, repeatable, ethical practice is just inherently unsustainable. I mean, especially in this industry. If a contractor buys into this system purely for the monetary target, say, focusing only on that $3,500 per claim number, but their quality control slips, they stop grounding their requests in the required documentation. Look at that case study, the $17,000 becoming $22,000. Every single dollar of that increase was justified by clear photos, specific IRC citations, manufacturer specs. If they just chase the dollar amount without that grounding, the results become inconsistent and they will ultimately generate the scrutiny that leads to a business crashing. The system is the engine, the money is the output, not the input.
Okay, let's consider the desk adjuster for a second, because cash flow velocity is paramount. The system works because it makes the adjuster's job exceptionally easy, which speeds up the whole financial transaction. I mean, they're professionals managing huge caseloads. They want to close claims and move them off their desk. By submitting a revised Xactimate estimate with detailed F9 notes and providing clear file names, Smith, IRC, code 905.2.8.5 PDF, We eliminate every point of friction and we accelerate the payment cycle. The system prioritizes the speed of compensation.
I come at the adjuster's role from a different angle. The reason they close the claim fast isn't necessarily to help the contractor get rich. It's because the documentation is completely audit-proof and internally defensible. The adjuster needs everything structured perfectly to justify that payment to their own supervisors. When the contractor cites a mandate like OSHA 1926.502H for competent person supervision, the adjuster can instantly verify that legal requirement and approve the line item. The system's true value is providing the legal justification that makes the payment defensible internally for the carrier. That's what ensures the contractor gets paid for legitimate, required work.
So to summarize my position, the system provides the definitive, proven path to achieving financial targets that were previously unreachable. We're talking hundreds of thousands, even millions in supplemental revenue for larger operations. The primary value for the contractor is the confidence in the tools needed to capture these legitimate, massive financial increases that sustain and grow their business.
And I remain convinced that the enduring value of Latif's systematic approach lies in its rigor and its defensibility. The system provides a legal framework and a professional methodology that guarantees the profitability is both ethical and sustainable. It turns the act of supplementing from a negotiation into a simple matter of code compliance and documentation, which insulates the business from risk.
Well, both sides agree that this system is absolutely essential for moving beyond just doing good work and into sustainable business growth. We hope this exchange has illuminated the different perspectives on why this systematic approach is so critical for contractors and roofers.
We appreciate you joining us for this discussion, drawn from Latif's comprehensive content. We encourage listeners to tune in as we continue to explore the next chapters in this vital series for maximizing legitimate claim value.